Good morning, everybody. A happy Thanksgiving to you. Welcome back to the Daily Thread.
Yeah, we made it. We made it to Thanksgiving. It's a holiday, national holiday here in the United States of America. You could park at any meter without putting any money
That's
in.
like the best thing about it.
And if you live in Brooklyn or Queens, alternate side of the street parking regulations are suspended. You know what that is?
I don't. It's
I was brought up with alternate side street parking regulations. It's a form of motor vehicle terror to worry about what side of the street your car is on that day.
Really?
Because you get a fine that you got to pay if you're on the wrong side of the street. You know, I was raised and lived in Brooklyn for a long time, with the alternate side street parking was very important. But it's crazy when you go to a place like Borough Park, for example. All the cars that are on the wrong side of the street, they double park on the left side of the street. So, I mean, it still creates a traffic problem.
It's a first world problem, honestly.
But the purpose of not being able to park on the side of the street is not to torture you. It only feels like it. But the purpose of not being able to park on one side of the street is so the street cleaners could,
Do they still do that?
Yes, they could push the leaves over to the next guy's house.
I don't know. You know what else is a big problem? Well, today's Rosh Chodesh Kislev.
Yes.
It's not a problem, but the problem is the price of these donuts. I don't know. It used to be
the subject.
It used to be. Yeah, I think we beat the alternate side parking subject to death.
Oh, really? That was quick. Anyway, that's fine. That's fine with me. But listen, those who live in Brooklyn and Queens,
You're going back to it?
No, I'm just saying that's fine. They know what I'm talking about.
You have a closing statement?
No, I don't have to say any more about it. That's fine. That's fine. But we're gonna be. I'll be in Israel, Mirz Hashem, for Hanukkah, and donuts are king.
Are donuts better in Israel?
I don't know.
I'm saying
there's donuts wherever you turn. Is donuts.
Donuts here.
You go into a hardware store, donuts. Every place you go into, you go to a shoe store, there's donuts.
I know, but like they're really like nowadays, like you could find like $12 donuts.
You can find, I think, more than that. I think you can find $20 donuts.
That's crazy.
There's custard inside.
I personally,
you don't like donuts?
I love donuts, but do not give me a donut that's piled high with things on it. I want one of those regular.
You're a purist.
I'm a purist. Regular
jelly donut. You want a jelly?
No,
donut.
not jelly.
No plain donut. No jelly.
You like jelly?
Well, listen. That's jelly donuts are an important part of Hanukkah.
Like, says who?
Says the jelly donut manufacturers, probably. But listen, why do we eat donuts, generally speaking? You have any idea why we eat donuts on Hanukkah?
Well, because
Hanukkah is America.
No, because
the Greeks what? The Greeks were in the donut business?
No, because the Greeks were into physique in their bodies, and
to
counteract them, we eat oily foods. We eat latkes, donuts.
Oh, so the Greeks were in good shape, and the Jews are
not in good shape.
Not in good shape, and that's why we eat donuts. Okay, yeah. That's very unique, very novel. Very wrong interpretation.
Wrong? That's my opinion.
I never heard that before.
I think I heard Charlie already say it.
You really?
Yeah.
He must have been joking.
He must have been.
I think you eat donuts because they're made they're boiled in oil. And
what does oil do to you?
And same thing with potato latkes.
Well, what do those foods do to you?
Why do we eat potato latkes?
Why is my part wrong?
You think the Hanukkah menorah, the Hanukkah miracle came about as a result of something to do with potatoes? No. It has to do with cooking stuff in oil. The miracle of Hanukkah was about the oil that lasted, which was enough for one day, which lasted a full 8 days. So therefore, that's how we celebrate. We celebrate by eating latkes and donuts.
Yeah, Kislev. Listen, Kislev is the best. It's the best month. This time of year, it's very exciting.
Today's also my mother's birthday, by the way. I know I mentioned that a couple of days ago. Your grandmother.
Yeah.
My mother, Sarah Reiser Bas Aaron. She passed away at the age of 95.
What? She was that old?
Yeah, 5.5 years ago. She passed away the year that Nissan got married. The week Nissan got married.
Coincidentally, she passed away the Motzei Shabbos of my brother Nissan's Afraf.
Right.
And then my grandfather, my mother's father, passed away the Motzei Shabbos of the Shabbos Sheva Brachos.
Right.
So Simcha was compounded by a lot of death.
It was the trying time, but I have to tell you,
Big Simcha.
I don't want to dwell on it too much. We'll talk about it when we get closer to the earth side, maybe. But I have to tell you that I was sitting Shiva for 2.5 days. Then 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday of that week, I locked the door. I went upstairs. I took a shower, shaved, got dressed for the wedding, and went to the wedding and danced my heart away with my chassan, the chassan kala, as was prescribed by the rabbinical authorities that I consulted, and like 12 o'clock at night. 12. I remember it was like 12:40 a.m. We left the hall and we got home, and I had to go put on my torn shirt, and I had to go put on my old clothes, and I had to go back down to my low chair, and I finished Shiva. And I was thinking to myself afterwards that anyone that, you shouldn't have to sit Shiva ever, but if you have to sit Shiva, if you could arrange to have a wedding in the middle, that's a pretty nice break.
It really is.
It's a pretty nice break. Anyway, today's my mother's birthday. She'll be 101. I could dwell on it for a long time, but I'm not going to, because we have a lot of things we want to discuss. But my mother, her father's father, who
your great-grandfather.
My great-grandfather, he lived until the age of 103.
Really?
Okay, and my grandfather lived till 91, 92. He could have lived longer. He went into the hospital for something. They kind of finished him off in the hospital, and otherwise he could have lived longer. And my mother lived till 95.
Maimonides?
No, I don't know where it was.
Shout out.
No, I think it was actually.
Am I gonna get sued for that?
Yeah, probably.
Defamation?
It was. I think it was Mount Sinai in the city.
Well, we're getting sued by them too.
No, anyway, listen. Whatever it was, he was an elderly man, and that's a whole different subject about patient care and so on. But anyway, today's my mother's birthday, so happy birthday, Ma. We miss you. And we used to celebrate her birthday.
Eating Chinese.
I don't know if you guys remember.
Of course.
But
Chosen Island.
My father passed away long before 27 years before she passed away, and he used to love taking us out for Thanksgiving, to a turkey dinner in some restaurant, usually somewhere. A few times we had catered in their house, a turkey and all the fixins and so on and so forth.
Fixins.
We talked yesterday about how we were tortured in yeshiva not to have turkey dinner. We talked about that was yesterday or 2 days ago.
It was the other day.
Anyway, that's the story on that. So now I hand it over to you.
No, that's amazing. We definitely would go to Chosen Island. We eat Chinese food, and there's a lot of Rosie Gordons running around now.
Baruch Hashem.
There's a Rosie, yeah. There's Sarah Gordon, also Rosie Gordon.
So Rosa,
moving on. So one of the topics today, obviously, there's a very, very sad day in Eretz Yisrael yesterday. There's a levaya for Aryeh Shupak.
Right.
And more details emerged about this accident. There's 18 who are wounded, one that passed away.
Another one's very bad, very critical condition, they say right now.
And the headline for today that came out that was quite troubling is there's a group from Iran known as Moses Staff that put out almost like a highlight video of the bombing, celebrating it and saying how amazing it is. But they used a camera view that Israel reported was a camera that wasn't working. Israel didn't have access to that camera, and the Iranians they breached the Israeli security and they hacked into that camera. Well,
I saw it very early this morning for the first time, and I just saw it again with Hugh, the video. I think they're trying to antagonize Israel. It seems to me that if Israeli police said the camera is not working, it's not working. Israeli police is not like...
So how do they have that view?
From a satellite. Iranians have satellites.
Let's go 1 second. But whether or not, if obviously the camera is working.
Well, no. If a satellite picked up the picture, you don't need a camera for that. You can get a picture from the satellite.
No, that come on, that was not.
I don't know. It could be. It could be. You have a satellite rotating the Earth, and the Iranians. What you can tell me? The Iranians outsmarted the Israeli police. It's like remember the shooting in the subway station in Brooklyn. When the guy shot like 9 people, thankfully no one was killed, but there was no cameras in the subway station.
Yeah.
Either they weren't working or they weren't installed yet. They have like a $90 million contract to install cameras, but they didn't get around to it yet. So there was no video footage of that shooting. But it's troubling that Iran is able to take one upsmanship on the Israeli police and posting a
highlight video.
Posting the, I don't know, you going to show it here?
Nope.
You're not going to show the bus pulling away?
I mean, we did mention yesterday it was Major Nisim how a bus pulled away just seconds before, which would have definitely led to more casualties.
Well, I mean, I think you can show the video if you want. Otherwise, it's on my status if you want to know. If you can find me somewhere. I'm not going to tell you how, but it's there.
Of course, I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to our sponsor for this week's episodes. That is Preferred Van and Services, Yankee Geller, the number one contact when it comes to transportation. And he mainly caters to the tri-state area. So Lakewood, Brooklyn, Muncie. If you're in those areas, make sure to give Yankee a call. You can WhatsApp him on. You can send him a message on WhatsApp. The link is in the description of this podcast. You can also email him at preferredvanservices@gmail.com. That's preferredvanservices@gmail.com. Thank you, Yankee. And
just want to tell you that we know how many papers we print and we know where it's distributed, but this daily thread and the meaningful minutes, the reach is beyond what we can really get a grasp on, and the feedback that we're getting and the amount of people that we're seeing or reading on YouTube and on your platform, on your WhatsApp groups, and the fact of the matter that you don't have to pay a printer and you don't have to pay circulation people to deliver the newspapers. In my case, they started at 4:00 this morning. Then, by the way, they love working on Thanksgiving. No traffic. They go through the whole. Whatever takes them 12 hours.
So they're also getting overtime.
Takes them 3. Now they love it. It takes them 3 hours on Thanksgiving. The stuff that usually takes 8 or 10 hours. Anyway, I think that this is a great opportunity to promote whatever, whether you published a book or whether you have a product or you're selling anything. This is an amazing way to promote it.
So go ahead, send us a message on WhatsApp. The link is in the description.
Give them the email address that they can reach you and your sales team at clearly, so they could contact you.
Thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. That's thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. And we hope to be talking about your business pretty soon. Something that Elon Musk put on Twitter recently is that he found in a closet in the Twitter headquarters a bunch of T-shirts that say "Stay woke." All because the Twitter fam, the Twitter staff was a very liberal woke crew prior to Elon's takeover, and Elon tweeted out a new merch for Twitter, and I'll put the picture up over here. It says "Stay at work," hashtag "Stay at work." Elon Musk is having a lot of fun, really trolling the old Twitter staff, and I saw a report that old Twitter people who used to work at Twitter are having a very hard time finding jobs now because they never did any work.
Really? So they had an abundance of staff. They had thousands of people they didn't need. But where did the money come from? They didn't really have any income.
Well, it's a public company.
So we're talking about stockholders kept piling in money.
I don't know how it works, but a publicly traded company, how does that work? I
mean, first of all, Twitter, with the attention that it gets, should have plenty of advertising revenue. They have to just be able to want to take the platform in that direction. I know there are companies that advertise on there, and I only know that not because I'm on Twitter. I happen not to know my way around Twitter too well yet. I'm sure you'll show me eventually.
I'm sure
Someday, by the time it goes out of style. But there are some. I only found out that they have sponsors because certain companies said they want to boycott Twitter as a way of objecting to Elon Musk's taking it over.
Right. Yeah. I guess we'll see what develops there constantly on the Twitter story. I spoke to I met a guy that is on the board of a school here in New York, and I asked him a curious question based on our conversation of last couple of weeks, which really made a lot of waves.
Yeah, a lot of people are bringing.
Hopefully, it affects change.
Yeah, so I said to him, I'm just curious. You had an open house for your school a few weeks ago. How many kids showed up? And he told me like 200 kids showed up. I said, how many places do you have in your ninth grade? He said, we have about 50. I said, so I mean, what do you do if, let's say out of the 50, out of the 200, you give a test as if a hair, Rebbe read some Gemara, they take an English aptitude test to see what level they're at, and X amount of kids get eliminated based on their not reaching the level. Nobody wants
academic level. Yeah.
Nobody wants a kid to go into a school where he's going to be lost.
Right.
Okay. If a school's on a certain academic level, you're not doing a kid a favor by taking him in and then having him drown in the work the next year.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So what do you do if you only have 50 spots, but you find out after you do all the testing, you find out that 60 kids would fit in perfectly.
10 more than they could take.
What do you do with those 10? There really wasn't an answer. He pointed up. You have Siyata Deshmaya, You pray for that you're selecting the right group. But so but the question that hasn't been asked or dealt with is what happens to those 10 kids. One of the comments this person said to me was, "That's why you have other schools." Okay, so you get passed along, but that's the schools. You also touched upon the idea of summer camp. Okay, now summer camp, and there's a lot of summer camps, Baruch Hashem, that have popped up because. Thank God there's so many kids.
Good industry. Good industry.
Okay. Good industry. Okay, absolutely good. But summer camp doesn't require the same academics as a yeshiva does.
No, it doesn't require a certain.
Doesn't require a certain average. Doesn't require. But the question is, what does it require? And it's been brought to our attention that in some instances there's an imbalance that's being utilized. That also you're concerned about kids being hurt by rejection letters. That's how this started. Okay, so what happens? Is the difference between getting a rejection letter from a school that's 10 months a year, or is there a difference between getting a letter from say a summer camp that says there's no room for you? It's also a form of rejection.
No, I think them saying there's no room is sort of like, well, what do you want them to do? There's no room. What should they do? I think it's different.
Okay,
someone's saying we don't want you. If you get rejected from a school, it's like we don't want you. And if it comes to a room issue, then it's like there's no space. What
but the issue that I want to bring to the fore for discussion here with you and with people out there in the blogosphere, wherever they are on the planet, I just want to say that. Like we said, there's no academic requirements for camp, okay? But you want kids from a certain. But what happens when a kid applies? Let's say a kid applies 5 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago for camp, and gets a letter right away saying that we're full and we'll let you know if a space opens up. But meantime, you're on a waiting list. Okay. And then you have a neighbor or a friend in another community that applies, that comes from. A family with substantial means, okay, which means
I see where you're going.
With great resources. Let me see if I could translate that. With a lot of money, and all of a sudden, a week after they applied, they got an acceptance letter. So, now I understand. Now you have to analyze this.
I don't know if that's though, because with camp, like, what does having a lot of money have to do with anything? Nobody's donating towards camp.
I knew you were going to ask that question. That's why I was thinking about it. A whole night. I was thinking about that. I asked myself that question. If it's new camps, and there are a lot of new camps popped onto the scene in the last few years to accommodate Baruch Hashem the level of the population in our community, which is a great thing. But they want to create an image for themselves for the future. They want to be known. We have Mr. X, Y, and Z's family, not Mr. A, B, and C's family. That projects a high image for them. But that's not the point. They're entitled to do that. It's a private business, granted, okay? But kids are being hurt. The kids are being hurt at the same time.
That's alleged. What you're saying is not.
They're what? They're allegedly being hurt?
No, the reason why this happened. You're saying that people are being waitlisted and then the other kids are being accepted because they come from
kids that it's a private business, and whether it's a school's a private business too very often. Okay? Usually less so than a camp. Because a school is usually a nonprofit organization, and no one owns a nonprofit organization. It has to be run by a board, and there's certain laws and regulations, and so on and so forth. But a camp could be a private business.
Yeah,
you can be proud of the fact that you own a camp that's successful, that kids want to get into. But why are you building your image for the future on other kids' backs without the right thing to do?
First come, first serve.
The right thing to do is if they are at the level of requirements, not a troubled kid, not a troublemaker, well behaved, good recommendations, good family recommendations. Why is a kid that applied 5 weeks ago being waitlisted, while a kid that applied last week was immediately accepted? That's what troubles me. Now, I don't want to name any camps, but people that called me about it didn't say who, what, where, what. I don't want to do that. That's not our job, I don't think.
No.
Not yet, anyway.
It's certainly not going to be. Because if that becomes our job, then I think we're out of jobs.
No, I'm not doing chas v'shalom. I don't want to use it to hurt anybody. Of course not. But you especially, you want to protect people from being hurt. I think first come, first serve. If you meet the requirements, first come, first serve is the right way to go.
Camp's got to expand. I don't know. It's like, what type of business model is it to turn away people?
If you listen, if you want to go to the Jets game or the Giants game this weekend, if they're playing in New York, I don't know if they are or not, and it's sold out, but you want to get in, what do you do? Sold out. What do you do? You could buy a seat from a scalper.
You can't really buy a spot for a camp from someone else.
No, you can't. You can't. It's a more delicate, a more sensitive situation. It's just food for thought. I think that you know,
everyone's got to be honest with themselves and their intentions.
Nachi, let's flip it over and say, why shouldn't a camp? It's a private business. Want to cater to a more high level of affluent people. After all, the fact of the matter is that in all the world of philanthropy, and generally speaking, 90% of the money comes from 10% of the people.
Okay.
And the other 10% of the money comes from 90% of the people. So I'm not saying that camp needs donations. A camp that charges $7,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 for the season, it's a 6-7 week season. I'm sure they have the income to be able to run a proper camp. So it's not really fundraising about it. But still, I believe, and I'm out of the business. You know, you guys are adults. You have your own kids. You have your own families. So I'm not involved in the tug of war and the give and take or the dynamics of what's going on in those situations. But the only thing I object to that hits me the wrong way is this idea of relegating some people to a secondary position and taking others who you think project an image of more opulence, that you have them jump over the people that are waitlisted. That's all.
I wonder if that's what happens, and if it is, then it shouldn't. I mean, I don't think anyone would say, "Yeah, that's fine. That should happen." It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. Listen, it shouldn't happen in schools. It shouldn't happen in shidduchim. It shouldn't happen in camp. It shouldn't happen. The amount of money shouldn't make a difference.
Well, every single one of those situations is different. Schools require academics, academic performance. Shidduchim, you can't go to a place what creates the possibility of a shidduch taking place.
Yeah.
You know, you can't go there. You can't have blanket rules.
Listen, it's food for thought, and of course, you can give us a feedback on what you think about this discussion. You can message us on WhatsApp. The link is in the description, in the show notes. You can also email us, the Thread at meaningfulminute.org. Please go ahead and sign up for our WhatsApp status account. We have a few thousand views already. If you'd like to advertise on any of these programs on WhatsApp, on the podcast, make sure to message us on WhatsApp. The link is in the description, the show notes. Wishing you all a happy Thanksgiving. It's a little bit of a shorter episode today. We're going to make sure you can get to your family gatherings and eat, you know.
We gave everybody a lot to think about.
A lot to think about
at the table once you're carving the turkey.
Yes, gobble, gobble.
We'll
see you next week. Have an awesome Shabbos, everybody.